What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and with me today I have Eric Nagel and Jordan from It's Eric Nagel, and we are going to be talking about Cube.
Oh, jeez.
There will be spoilers.
Give it a good once-over.
Giving us the once-over.
Giving him the once-over.
Give me a once-over.
Down to give us the once-over.
For a routine once-over.
Once-over.
Oh, just once over lightly.
Eric and Jordan, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this absolutely incredible 1997 low-budget Canadian sci-fi horror film which traps a group of strangers into a seemingly endless maze that has identical rooms in it. I am so excited that we decided to talk about this movie. And Eric, it was your suggestion that we talk about Cube. So I would love to hear kind of your background with this movie. Tell me a little bit about why you wanted to talk about this one.
Well, how I discovered the movie is going back into the long ago when you used to have cable movie channels on your cable box. One day it was on a channel which I don't think exists anymore called the Movie Channel. And it was aptly named TMC. And this movie came on, and I don't know why. I'm not a big horror guy. I'm not usually drawn to that genre, but there are things every now and then catch my eye and I go, oh, I want to check that out. I don't know if this was like a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon when this was on, but I apparently had nothing going on. And I sat there and was watching this and I go, what is going on with this movie? And it just kind of captivated me. And it was on all the time. So if you grew up in that age of cable movie channels, you'll hear people wax poetic about HBO. They only knew this movie because it was on HBO a million times while they were a kid. This was one of those times. And throughout the course of my life, that movie always stayed with me. It was interesting. It was it's not dystopian. I don't know what that genre is called, where you're always trapped in a maze. You don't know if you can get out. It's like escaping from hell, escaping from a demon dimension, those kind of things. And anytime people would talk about horror movies, I would bring this movie up, and not a lot of people knew about it. And I guess until the internet really became available to everybody. And then anytime I'd bring it up and like, oh my God, I love that movie. You do? I've known it for like 15 years and nobody knows this movie that I'm talking about. It's a low budget thing out of Canada. I might have been talking about like Today's Special or Degrassi High, and people would still not really know that much about it.
Oh, Degrassi.
And that'd be great. How great if the cast of Degrassi High woke up in the cube. And you know, you got Drake in the wheelchair trying to
yeah, he can't get out of the first room.
So yeah, I just became fascinated with it, and it was on all the time. So I kept watching it. And then you find out later on they made a sequel, and then there was a third one. And now like a couple years ago, they just had a Japanese remake of the movie. Jordan and I were talking about this the other day, and it's like, it didn't seem weird for them to remake this movie. And then we realized it was 25 years ago when they remade that movie. It seems so close from when we were growing up. Like the 90s isn't that long ago. Oh my God, the 90s is almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, so we're 2 years away of its 30th anniversary. That's how much you forget how old this movie is, and still pretty much holds up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that's so unique about this film is that it really is blending the gruesomeness of these traps, of these booby traps, with mathematical puzzles and with conspiracy theory paranoia and the breakdown of human relationships. And all of that is so relatable. So this still feels extremely fresh, even though it was made so long ago.
It balances the actual horror action happening with the other horror trope of what you think is going to happen in your mind is way worse than anything they could put on the screen and present it to you.
Right.
So you're looking at each room, it's like, what could possibly be the booby trap in there? What could possibly, and when some stuff happens, you're like, I never thought of that, and that's the way that these people died, or this person got hurt, or whatever. It was a good balance of seeing it happen on screen and also mixing it with, I don't know what's going to happen, but what's in your mind is probably scarier than what they're going to show you, if that makes any sense.
I would definitely agree. Although I will say some of the kills are very brutal in this movie. Jordan, before we get into the kills, I would love to hear kind of your background with this movie. What was your experience with it? What were your kind of initial reactions to it?
Well, as Eric said, in the long, long ago, I actually graduated high school in 1997, which makes me feel very, very
You're old.
You graduated before me. But right out of high school, one of my first jobs out of high school is I went to go work for Hollywood Video, and then later on I worked for Blockbuster. So I had access to VHS.
The coveted jobs you want as a teenager and maybe
it.
even college is to work at a Blockbuster, work at a video store. Nothing better.
Yep. So I just would watch everything and anything I can get my hands on. You know, during the normal shift, you can't put on anything crazy, but once you're closing those doors and you're cleaning up, we're putting on like things like Orgasmo or like Equilibrium, things that no one talks about. Like they're underground movies.
That
and this
pirate
just happens to
movie
be
that
one.
really was a porno, but they tried to make it, promote it that it was actually an R.
Oh yeah, no, you had those Skinamax movies that the guys would come rent at 10 a.m. when you first open and return it by 11. Those were gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like this is around the time I think Pi came out. So like I watched Pi, and then I picked this one up. Yeah, and so like I discovered on VHS when it first I think hit the market, and I just fell in love with it ever since. So anytime I would have a chance to watch it, I would watch it. And like Eric, like no one knew about it. It was one of those things pre-real internet where it was all word of mouth. It's the same, like I said, with Equilibrium. That was like, oh, you've seen The Matrix. Well, watch this movie. This is better than The Matrix. You didn't have a movie blog to go look at. You didn't have the magazines telling you. It was all word of mouth. Same with Super Troopers. It's those kinds of things that just kind of grew in your little group of friends and just kind of grew out of that. And Cube was one of those movies where, yeah, anytime I could talk about it to somebody, I would. And no one heard about it because I don't think it hit the theaters. Like Eric said, it's a low budget, almost like Sci-Fi Channel type movie.
It was in a film. It won like an award at a film festival in Toronto. And then, yeah, I don't know if it actually had even a small scale theatrical release. I don't know if it went from the film festival right to VHS and the cable channels at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, I started my adventure with this one on the old VHS. So right when it came out,
I rented this from a Blockbuster. That was so I was enchanted just by the cover art. This was one of those movies that it just felt mysterious from the get-go. And I am a judge a book by its cover kind of gal. So I saw the cover of this and I was like, what the fuck is that?
I hated when people say you can't judge a movie by the box art. Yes, you can.
Some of them you can.
Walking through a Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, whatever caught your eye is what you went over and you read it and you go, okay, maybe it's not. Or you went, holy crap, I never would have saw this if it didn't have this kind of artwork on there that intrigued me. So yes, judge a book by its cover always.
Absolutely. And when I started watching it, I remember feeling very much like it was a survival story in the beginning, because again, what we get is this group of strangers trapped in this cube and trying to figure out a way out together. But it becomes such an existential nightmare about systems, about bureaucracy, about the absence of meaning, I think is what becomes so meaningful about this movie. And that made it so unique. And in addition to that, I'm a giant math nerd. So anytime that I get to math out in a movie, I am even more excited.
I was just like, oh, they're talking about prime numbers and Levin's a mathematician. Okay, get on the deaths. I suck at numbers. So I'm the complete opposite. I was just waiting for another person to get something chopped off or beat up on because,
I did love that. And we can't talk about this movie without talking about how it starts out, which is introducing us to the MC Escher-like cube. It's all about design. This whole thing is about design, but we also get very early on in the film this incredible sliced razor wire cut kill where it looks like deli meat human falling apart.
It's
how do you not love that
thing? The mandolin?
Oh yeah, it's like a mandolin.
It's like a giant vegetable slicer that was hooked to a chain link fence, just kind of fell down. And I do love when movies do this because they're not the only movie that did this, but
Resident Evil.
That thing where something happens so fast and the person still has some kind of consciousness and like, oh my God, this doesn't feel right. And then within a couple seconds, like the cubes of the body start falling apart and it just falls to the ground like chum. And you're like, oh, that sound effect was worse than the actual visual of the guy getting diced.
Well, and they did the same kind of effect in the Resident Evil movie with Mila Jovovich. And I think that was more mainstream, where people would probably be able to visualize, if they've never seen Cube, what happened. There's that scene where all those lasers come through and slice that guy up into the cubes. But this happened in this movie well beyond that, and almost immediately. Like, you get like a couple minutes into this movie, you're kind of feeling that claustrophobia of the rooms that he's in, and then boom, you think this guy's a main actor. And mainly because, for me, I know this actor from other things. He was like an X-Men. He I think he was in Supernatural. Like, he's a kind of a notable character actor now, but back then you just don't know about him. So he's just cannon fodder just to introduce the movie.
Supernatural. He was
Death.
Yeah, he was Death in Supernatural. A show that went on 20-something years, so it's okay if you don't remember everything, because a television show at that point went on 22 years. You're like, you remember every character.
But yeah, like, it happens within the first 5-10 minutes, and that's pre-title screen. Like, you don't get to see the title, you don't get to see the credits. This happens, you're shoved into it, and then
you're fully immersed in the cube. You feel like you are in the cube with these characters, and you also need to figure your way out. And so we do shortly after that get introduced to our group of main characters here. So I want to kind of just set the scene of what each character is like. I'd love to get your guys' takes on the overarching themes of each character. So I would say that the main character of the film is probably Quinton, who is a cop out in the real world.
I'm a cop.
None of these people have any idea why they are here, what has connected them to make them all be here. And Quinton is very controlling, authoritarian. He's volatile. He's chaotic. I would define him as. He's abusive. He absolutely is.
But he doesn't start
out
that
as a
way.
protector. He starts out as a protector.
Yeah, he feels very much like, okay, if we got to figure out where we are, we have to organize. Like, he's very like a cop. He's assessing the situation, figuring out what they need to do, and then going. He's got a plan, even though he knows nothing about where he's at.
Yes. Yeah, he becomes quite manipulative and violent as the movie continues, which I think probably stems from some deep insecurities of his own. He gets particularly upset with one of the other characters, one of the female characters, Holloway, when she starts to insinuate certain things about his life.
It's some rich psycho's entertainment.
Is that what you think?
And she makes some pretty crazy accusations.
Let him go, you Nazi!
And that drives him over the edge.
That's his snapping point, because he, like you said, he started off police instincts, trying to assess the situation, fearing for his own life too. He doesn't know these people at all, so he's like, I need to get the hell out of here. When it got to that point, when Holloway started talking about him, we didn't know at the time, but she said something that wasn't revealed at all in the movie, that how would anybody know that? And we don't know that till later on, when he like closer to the end, when he says, when she said that, I knew she was in on this and she has something to do with all of this, because the reveal, spoiler everybody, the reveal was that because he was talking about he has 3 kids and him and his wife isn't together, and he was making it seem like his wife passed on, until he was asked directly, and he said, no, we separated. She's still around, we just don't talk, whatever. And then we find out that something about he had an affinity for I don't know if it was underage, but she said younger girls. So it could have been implying that, or it could have just been, however old they were. This was like a 21, 22-year-old. We don't know, but it was enough to make him snap, because that's not information I guess you would want out there in public.
Part of her comic. Part of her comment comes from the fact that one of the other characters, Levin, she's younger. She's a college kid. So like, he's more against Holloway as an older doctor, and in some of the other characters, he's taking kind of a liking to Levin, either for reasons of she knows what she's talking about with the numbers, so he can use her to get out, or you're right, he has that affinity for the younger girls. And he
you could be right. I didn't take it that he had any kind of attraction to her. I just he was using people as they were useful to him to achieve his goal of getting out there. So when he realized the doctor was taking care of the mentally disabled person, who we'll get to in a moment, which he seemed he said he was like a deterrent, like he was dragging them down, he's going to get him killed, she was taking care of him. He just kind of shut that off and went right for the girl that knew the numbers, assuming that she knew the code to get out of there. So I think it was more than that, but again, who knows? It was open to interpretation. And the movie is so long in a way where it's not a long running film, but you could definitely tell it's from a different time, because you're sitting there watching, go, this is getting slow. Like, this is just taking forever. They could have sped this up more, but we're looking at it through today's standards and through today's eyes about how we watch TV and movies now. But watching it then, simple pacing, setting this up, going over here. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't remember this movie being this slow, but alas, it was.
I had a totally different experience. I actually think that the pacing for this makes a lot of sense, because we are getting to know so much about each one of these characters, with each one of their little commentaries. So for me, Quinton very much represents the corruption of authority under pressure. But even with things like talking about his 3 children, at one point he mentions, I have a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And in a movie that relates to math, and we need to know math for, and a movie where we're focusing specifically on prime numbers, I say to myself, okay, well, 5 is a prime number and 7 is a prime number, but 9 isn't. Why are we choosing 9? And I go into this crazy little tailspin in my head, and that excites me enough to make the pacing very, very meaningful. So even when we're getting these sort of mundane details about these characters, it can really tie into the mindlessness of the existence within this cube. And that is, to me, the most exciting thing in the world. Like, that's what keeps me on the edge of my seat in this movie, is what are these people going to do next? Do they like each other?
Being a non-number nerd, I'm looking more at like their characters. They all have like this archetype, where it's like Quentin's, like you said, the cop. He's very brute force, paranoia. He's the authoritative guy. You got Levin, who's more of the intellect, logical. She's got to find the numbers. She's got to do all that stuff. Worth, who we haven't mentioned yet.
Mister. Worth.
He's the architect. He's the guy that helped design the outer shell of this cube.
And he's very nihilistic and intelligent.
Very apathetic. He doesn't care. He thinks, well, we're here, we're dead. Like, why try? Holloway's your doctor. She's the empathy. She's the heart. She's the one that, if once she's gone out of this story, that's when things really start to break down.
She's also a conspiracy theorist.
Sure.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a whack, even though she's a doctor, so she's obviously smart enough to be a doctor. But what she lacks in that other spot of her life filled in with conspiracy stuff, where as things were being discovered or they were figuring things out as going through, I know. And then she goes on these whole rants. I'm like, oh my God, it's a nut job. She's so busy being a doctor, she has no life outside of being a doctor. So that came in and filled in some kind of void that she didn't have for a family, for dating, for any kind of social activity. She just became a conspiracy theorist. And I think the little touch on that too was, what would a conspiracy theorist do when approached with evidence that what you thought was real? And she started having her own meltdown too. She's like, oh my God, this is a thing. And then, all right, you got to that point. Your whole conspiracy theorist thrives on, I think it's this, I think it's this, and never getting the answers. When they get the answers, then what? Like, her whole purpose was done there too. Once she got the answer, like, oh my God, everything was real that I thought. I don't know what to do with my life.
I think that her conspiracy theory needs relate a lot to her desire to impose meaning onto chaos. Everybody has a different theory about what the cube is and why they're in there, and her theory is, it's the government, man, it's a corporate plot, they're bringing us down, and she needs to create that meaning to this meaningless cube, this otherwise meaningless cube. Why are we here? We're questioning all of existence when we're in the cube.
What if the real answer is that they're trapped inside a Rubik's Cube, and then it zooms out and it's being played with by an autistic kid, like the ending of Saint Elsewhere, where the whole story was just this kid imagining it in a Rubik's Cube. Yeah, exactly. And then there was none. This never happened. It was all in this little kid's mind. And then Finn comes right on the screen. No answer.
I saw a very flimsy fan theory that the cube itself is the Hellraiser puzzle box. It's what's inside the Hellraiser.
It does look like that.
And I was going to say that's.
I was going to say in design, I think that we can all agree that makes a lot of sense. In practicality and how these two movies play out, it does not make any sense.
The scale in which this cube, this machine, the way it shifts, the way the rooms are set up, you almost have to think there's something otherworldly to be able to pull off such a massive feat. Because like, there's no way, we don't have the resources, we don't have the manpower, we can barely build a building the size of just a skyscraper without someone noticing. How do you make this happen without no one knowing about it? And it's you almost want it to have some otherworldly meaning to it. Like you said, with the puzzle back.
Didn't Holloway say it was something that there was some kind of site in New Mexico that everybody was like sealed off, nobody could go to or whatever?
Oh, sure. It's like
this was essentially buried under the desert.
I mean, I've lived in the desert. That's highly plausible.
Are you part of this?
Part of the cube.
Oh no, Jordan, get out of the cube!
Right,
run. Test the booby traps. It'll be okay.
The character we're leaving off is Kazan.
Kazan, you want to go for a walk?
Autistic guy. He's chaos, but he's also the least likely one to be the one to solve it. So everyone overlooks that he may be useful, and that's what really
very much the idiot savant.
Does it not seem like they were all in there because they're being punished for something? It's not like they were just. I mean, we really don't know the answer, so it could be anything. But it doesn't seem like, well, this guy knows this guy knows numbers. This woman has no heart. This guy is a control freak. And it's like, it just seems too random to put everybody in there like that, unless somebody's watching this, if there's some kind of visual, a game, anything going on there.
Big Brother.
Something, aliens. I mean, everything's open here for discussion for all of this stuff. But it just seems like everyone was there. They all feel like they're being punished. Like they all know their own personal hell or something that they did in the real world. And this is kind of their purgatory kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too far into it.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it through the lens of now we have movies like Saw and all these other movies where, yes, there is that puppet master controlling things. There's a reason you're here because you interacted with me here and did this here. This might just be, this guy has this personality, this person has this skill. Let's see if everybody can get over all their personal BS, their biases, whatever, and actually work together. It's like a allegory on how society works. If we all just shut the fuck up and get our stuff together and actually use our skills and our talents to benefit each other, where instead you've got everybody kind of working to their own goals here in this movie. And no one wants to give that up to a point.
The only thing that made me think that it was kind of a purgatory thing, well, not the only thing, but there was three things that kind of pieced together. One was Quinton, the younger girls kind of thing, which I said could have been that it was an underage girl. So he might have been thrown in there because he was a pedophile. Worth worked on this project, but they all said everybody worked in small sections. So nobody really knew what the greater goal was. And they threw him in there because it's like the mafia. You know, they do a big job, a big organized job, and then they take out anybody that could potentially talk except for the top people. They throw Worth in there just to get rid of him. And then
he's just trapped in a system that he helped build, but he no longer control.
And Holloway could just be viewed as like a political enemy, you know, a super liberal conspiracy theorist might have been getting too close. But yeah, I mean, online stuff wasn't really there yet in 96, 97, but it didn't mean they weren't, you know, circulating through zines and meet get-togethers and stuff like that. So she might have been getting too close to this thing. So they threw her in there. They all seem to have had some kind of penance they had to pay for whatever they were doing in the real world.
I think it's very possible to assign meaning to the cube and to say perhaps the intention was to teach each of these people a lesson. But to me, it's so much more representative of design without any meaning. There's no mastermind plan behind this. These are just, to me, they're randomly selected people who are trying to connect themselves to each other, both so that they can attempt for survival, but also because if they don't, then they feel like life is not worth living anymore. And that's a really powerful, there's like this, what is it? I can't even remember the quote. Something headless blunder operating the illusion of a master plan, I think is along the lines of what gets said. That's basically what we feel when we're watching this, right? We want them to have a connection. I don't know that they do. I don't know that they're being taught a lesson. I don't know that they're there as a punishment. I just think that they exist.
I mean, it's quite possible.
So empty and pointless is life, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Got it.
yes, exactly.
There's no point to it, and that's why his name is Worth, because he assigns zero worth to this entire thing.
Yes, there is another actual. I've seen some other theories about why each one of the characters has their name. So apparently, each one of the characters' names is based on a prison. So Quinton would be San Quentin, which is a notoriously violent prison. Kazan, I believe that it's like a mental institution prison. So we have the person who has mental incapabilities being assigned that role. And so each one of these characters apparently is mirrored in whatever prison they're named after. So there's definitely a lot of thought going behind everything that's going on. I
was going to say, now that you say it, because I'm thinking Levin and Worth is Leavenworth.
Yes.
Oh, there might actually be I've never actually heard that theory before. That is kind of interesting that they're trapped in a prison and each one,
And I thought that guy's name was after Settlers of Kazan, which was a board game back in the 80s, but apparently I was wrong.
That's Catan.
Catan.
Like Chris Catan.
Yeah.
You're right.
Settlers of Chris Catan. I personally like how like you never really get to like feel comfortable in this, where you're introduced to Rennes, who is a master like thief. He's the escape artist. He's the one that teaches them how to move around. And then what is it? About 30 minutes into the movie, they pull a Deep Blue Sea and they're like, nope, you're dead. The one guy that may have had a plan is now dead.
Mad.
Oh, wait a minute. When Quinton figured him out and said, oh, he's the Rennes, and he's the guy that got out of broke out of 5 high-level prisons, and he goes 6 or something like that. And now they're all named. All right, look at that. Tying it all together.
Yeah. And I believe that the Rennes is actually the name of a French prison. So again, here we are back at that. Rennes is a really interesting character, mostly because his death scene is so brutal. He gets this acid trap in one of the rooms, and it is, even though he is an expert at escaping prisons, he cannot escape the cube. There is no guarantee of survival in this place. And that's what's so terrifying about the cube. And life, I guess, also.
I think they took the whole shooting acid into his face. It looks like they ripped off Jurassic Park. Because it's the same thing. He just looks and goes, oh, or he said something. I forgot what he mumbled. And then the thing just shoots out like a Dalek arm and shoots the spray in there. It's like a velociraptor just when they open the door and like that. So quick. And then they open up the thing and he's there without a face. But the body's still moving, which is way more terrifying than if the head was cut off. Like if the head was cut off, you'd be like, well, when you kill a chicken, it runs around for a little bit before the body. But when the face is gone and it's still walking around, it's like, yeah, we're not taking our chances with him.
Well, I think it's interesting is that you kill off the one character that actually does have a semblance of actual survivability in this. So it puts everybody else on edge. Like, oh, well, if this guy can't survive this, what chance do we have? Yeah. And that's what really starts to make everybody kind of devolve into their own. Well, now we have to try to figure this out.
Yes. And again, that's what's terrifying. Working together. Yeah, I
for a little
completely
bit.
agree. So they start out trying to work together. They're testing all of the different rooms. I love the actual set design of this. It's really beautiful. Each one of the rooms, of course, is a cube. And in order to move from room to room, there are these two-dimensional squares that kind of look like locks, and they have to open them up as if it's like opening up a safe, and then they have to figure out if that room is going to be safe. So at first they're testing the booby traps by doing things like throwing their boots into the room to see if motion sensors activate any of these booby traps. But they realize relatively quickly, I believe actually after the acid killing, that, or maybe it was the flamethrower one, I can't remember. But they realize that there's additional other ways that they could be getting booby trapped. So now they have to come up with new theories. And that's when Levin's character and her meaning in the cube really, and her purpose in the cube really becomes evident, because she is an intelligent young woman who is a mathematician.
The incinerator thing was prime.
I think she's like the only one that I really couldn't figure out. Like when I said everybody was there under some sort of punishment, I couldn't figure out what her punishment would have been. She was a college kid. She was living at home, math nerd. She didn't really reveal anything that would be like, oh, it's not like she committed like fraud against the lottery or some kind of bank or something like that. Where her number skills would come, or even card counting at a casino, something along the line. She didn't seem to have any kind of negative background that would justify her being there as a punishment.
Well, and then maybe that's why she's put there. Everyone's got some kind of reason they're there, and she just shows that no, even innocent people are not going to be spared this fate in whatever cube institution they've built. So there might be a different meaning to it. So I don't know. She's always the one that threw me off, and I think maybe it was just to give you the reason to have the prime numbers. But I don't know.
There was a scene where it was so pointless to have this scene, but she's starting to figure out the dimensions of the cube, right? Because and Worth were talking, and he's talking about the dimensions of the shell for this thing. So she's trying to figure out, well, all right, if this is dimensions for the outside, what are the dimensions to occupy the space inside? So she's just walking across, and the mentally challenged guy is sitting there, freaking out, having a panic attack, and she's trying to count. She's like, "Could you move him or something like that?" And then she rolls her eyes like, "Oh, it's like that thing is so big. You could have moved over another foot and walked around him. Not he needed to move that exact spot where she was walking to." And I was like, all right, she's kind of a bitch. But other than that, I don't think that's enough to throw in the cube and sentence her.
Not deserving enough of a reason to be in the cube. I did find that stuff, and I'm going to math nerd out a little bit here. I did find that aspect of this movie to be a little bit annoying. So initially, the gang believes that one of the things that indicates that a room is safe with no booby trap is if the numbers that are tagging that room are prime numbers. However, Levin eventually ends up using math in order to discover that the cube root is 26, and therefore that there are 17,576 rooms within this cube. And then she starts thinking about, she's like, okay, so we have this and then this and then this. And then she thinks that she remembers the famous mathematician Descartes. And then she's like, okay, well, that means that there's these Cartesian coordinates, and that means that we're using.
It's how you chart something when the
in geometry
moving. Yeah.
Yes. And so she's saying it's more like latitude and longitude lines. And then she realized that there are seven rooms from the edge. She's using all of these different things, and the coordinates really only make sense using that sort of math if there is a fixed order. However, we later learn that the rooms are in fact moving. So once the rooms start moving, none of that actually applies. And that drove me insane. I was really, really bothered.
Can I tell you the most unrealistic thing about this entire movie?
Yes, please.
Was the fact that she was able to write down numbers on stainless steel with a button.
Yeah, that really actually did bother me. We're like, here, suck on the button to get your saliva going. Okay, I understand there's a need for the button, but then you're using plastic to write on, like you said, stainless steel to actually chart out. No, I can picture myself being thrown into a cube and tortured in various ways. I cannot move past plastic on metal writings.
Do
Like,
you know how much
it's
pressure you would have to use if someone just had like
Uh-huh.
like a MacGyver Swiss Army knife in their pocket, right? And you're using the knife or the corkscrew or whatever to kind of scrape in the numbers to do your equations, and that's with metal on metal. This is a really cheap button made for apparently like a mass-produced uniform that they were all in, and she's able to write all these kind of it looks like the blackboard in Fantastic Four when he's going crazy trying to figure out the complex equations of the universe, and she's doing it with a button on stainless steel. I go, this just took me out of the entire movie. All the
Out of
other
the
stuff
whole
is
thing.
plausible. This one thing took me out of the movie.
No, because this can
You know-
actually point you to that this is a government project, and they just took the cheapest possible materials for the inside of the cube.
Yeah, all the suits have that Guardian tag on the back, so not to buy those concert shirts because they're cheap,
Correct.
terrible. Yeah.
It is an interesting question, and the group does actually ask this question at some point. They say, well, we must have been stripped naked and put into these outfits. Somebody had to do that. So is it aliens? Is it the government? There's somebody. Is it Big Brother? Is somebody watching them navigate?
Imagine it's these whatever this entity is paid off the families of these people, so like their parents are putting them into the jumpsuits, or the ex-wife's putting them into the jumpsuit, and then they just haul them into a truck and never to be seen again. But the families got paid handsomely to never speak about this.
And
I just thought of that now.
Well, it's it just, I wish, and I actually am happy that they don't give you a definitive ending. Like, they give you an ending that sees someone essentially leave the cube, but you don't know who set this up. You don't know who orchestrated all of it. You never get like a voice over the intercom type situation where it's like, okay, this is why, this is the big reveal. No, you don't. You don't get any of that. And it leaves you to sit there and have all these discussions, have all these questions. And I always found these kinds of movies great and horrible at the same time. They were great when I was working the movie theater, or not the movie theater, but like Blockbuster, because then you could sit there and you're just doing what we're doing. We're just talking about, okay, what did we just watch? What's going on? What do you think this meant? But it never gives you an end. And I'm liking it to, I just finished Alien Earth. And I'm not going to spoil anything for Eric because he's going to watch it, or anybody else. But
Aliens in it. Spoiler.
there's an alien there. But the season 1 just ended yesterday, and it didn't. The internet's pissed because it didn't give them the resolution they wanted, because they're gonna do another season. This is how society now works, where we have to have an ending, otherwise people get pissed off. You can't make this movie with this ambiguously open-ended questioning movie, because people's attention spans are so stupid,
And not just
they have to be spoon-fed an answer.
And not just that, there's people who can't go see a movie until they know almost everything what the movie is about. They need to know the entire, like, they may not know the exact ending, but they need to know the entire story before they're going to decide if I'm going to go to the movie theater, or if I'm going to get it on demand, or even sit down and watch it on any of the platforms. Well, you got to tell me the whole movie before I watch it. It's like, it defeats the point of watching a movie. Like this movie, had I not just come across it on one day on a cable channel back in the 90s, or if you had not come across it from the box art at the video store, chance encounters with this movie, and we still all sat down and watched it. Now it's like, well, who's in it? I need to know everybody's in there. I need to know the plot. I need to all this stuff before I figure out if I'm going to go see this movie or not. It's like, what's the point? At there, go and watch a movie. If it's terrible, then you got a story, you got a memory for it.
What is so unique about this movie is that the plot is almost meaningless, in the same way that the cube is meaningless, right? I can summarize the plot of this movie in one sentence. However, all you want to do is talk about what happens. And what happens in this movie is not the plot. What we're experiencing is we're experiencing these relationships. We're experiencing people's downfalls. We're experiencing all of these different characters going through their own character arcs, and each character arc is so strong. And because it's open-ended, we all get to discuss what the heck happened. even though so little happens. So little happens in this movie.
Yeah, you get to talk about that, and then you get to wonder, well, what were the other means of death in the other cubes that we didn't see? Like, you start coming up with, I remember doing that in college when I was having this discussion. It's like, what do you think the other ways to die in the other rooms were? Like, we were talking about flooding, electrocution, something in the air like carbon monoxide. They think the room is safe, and then right as they're about to figure out which path to go, suffocation, all of that. What weird shit could happen in there? I'm like, wow, I don't even care about the characters anymore. Now I'm wondering what the rooms do.
Because at the end of the day, the cube and this sarcophagus that holds all these different rooms, that's the antagonist of the movie.
Yeah.
Who cares who's controlling it? Who cares how they got there? The real enemy in this is not only their own shortcomings, but the cube itself. Because I did the same thing. I thought, oh, this is going to have a Star Wars trash compactor room where the walls are start closing in, and like just all kinds of different things that we never saw. Because A, it was a low budget Canadian movie, and B, like they couldn't possibly go to everything. There's only a couple of them, and they were already trying to kill each other from the get-go.
How many people did they not run into? How many other people were in the cube at the same time that they were? We have no idea.
Right.
We have no idea how many people and how many stories we didn't hear about. The fact that this group of people happened to meet each other was either by design or was by happenstance. But regardless, there could still be endless numbers of people that are all in different areas. They didn't actually meet Kazan until I want to say about halfway through the movie is when they finally come across him. So they are coming across people as the movie continues. They're not all starting in the same starting place.
You just put into the visual of another. It's not even a horror movie. It's so comical but enjoyable. Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah,
like the first part of the movie is one movie. The second part of the movie is a completely different movie. But when they're in the underground thing, and you're seeing all the glass,
all the different monsters,
cells, and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too. Is like, is there somebody in a control room that's watching all of the stuff? And you're like, oh, this is the group of 6 over here. Maybe they're gambling because they're, these are terrible people. They're gambling on who's going to live or whatever. Oh, let's go over to this quadrant over here. Look at these 18 people losing their fucking mind. It's like watching an ant farm almost. And then they're shaking it up to see how they all react.
What they can do. Yeah.
I see all of this stuff we're talking about is better than the sequel to this movie for what they did.
It definitely is. It definitely is. What this actually always makes me, it always pulls at my heartstrings which is totally biased. It's not really a great comparison, but did you guys ever see The Prisoner, which was a 1960s TV show with Patrick McGowan in it?
Was it the bubble that would come up?
Yes.
And they were stuck on the island?
Yeah.
That's how we end our show for the last 11 years is we go until the next time, everybody. Yes. Jordan goes, be excellent to each other, which is from Bill and Ted. And I go like this. I go, yes. We'll be seeing you. I loved that show. Nobody liked that show. I remember my dad.
I love that show.
Saying like, I have no idea what that show was terrible. And it was on a chance rerun before they took it off TV in the 90s. I watched it. That bubble thing, everybody was getting gassed. Everybody wanted to know who number 1 was, and it was just
they did a parody of it on The Simpsons, which was really funny because there was a koala bear the eye came out and gassed everybody, and then the bubble got Homer. Like
that was easy.
But this feels very similar to The Prisoner to me in the same sense where it's, why are all of these people here? What can we figure out as the audience? I need to assign answers to these questions almost as much as the characters need to assign answers to the questions. And I get very much that feeling with The Prisoner, and I get very much that feeling with this movie, because I feel like I'm connected with these people. What if I woke up in the cube? Who would I be? Who am I in the cube? Am I helpful?
Right now,
am I an asshole? Yeah.
I'm wondering now, it didn't dawn onto me you were just bringing this up, but the fact about waking up in the cube, what if this could happen to me? What if this is really a reality? I don't know if you play any video games, Kaylee, but there's a game called The Backrooms, which is a horror video game where it's about people who glitch out of life and wind up in this weird dimension, which is essentially an abandoned gigantic office with moldy wet carpeting and constant fluorescent lights buzzing everywhere. And you got to work your way to try to find a way out of this thing, or there's creatures there that will kill you. But they were just happened to be walking down the street and they made the wrong turn on on the block, or they opened a door walking here, and they just in a moment they glitched into a whole other dimension. And that's the big point of the game. This could be the same thing too. They all seemed, I think the thing was they all went to sleep and they woke up here. Like I had chicken last night. It seems like they were all eating something and they got poisoned or drugged or whatever, and then they woke up who knows when into those cube things there. So
that's the other thing. You don't get a clear passage of time. You don't know how long they've been in here.
Right.
One thing I have always found very interesting especially after rewatching it, there's 7 characters in this movie that you get to meet. Only 2 of them have died by a trap.
Yes.
You get Acid Face and you get the first guy. That's it. No one else dies by any of the traps in the room. They all die from their own problems.
Yeah. I think that is actually one of the things that this movie clearly inspired the Saw series. I think that we can all agree to that. And I think that is one of the things that really inspired the idea within Saw, which is that you can save yourself. You can both save yourself and you can be your own demise. And what happens in Cube is that each character is the demise of themselves. So I think that one of the most powerful moments of the film is probably relating to Holloway's presumed death. Her and Quinton clearly have a battle between the two of them. She's already accused him of not being a great guy. He's become
she
very
called him a
suspicious
Nazi
of
at
her.
one point.
Yeah.
It's I mean, not that this is we're not aware of this stuff. It's gone back, a century between people screaming fascism and you're a Nazi and we're fighting against that, whatever. Wasn't very prominent in a lot of art, movies, things like that in the 90s. Nobody was talking like that as much as they do now, but I mean, they weren't talking like that. And so for that to show up when rewatching it this time, I go, I didn't notice that last time because that wasn't really a thing in our lexicon during that time, but because it's been that way for the last decade, with people picking sides, everything that's slightly against whatever they believe, you're automatically a fascist, you're a Nazi, you're all this stuff here. Then you have the other side that is going crazy about all this stuff. You're seeing that there in the 90s. It's a very, very small characteristic of it, but it's there and you go, oh my God, it's always been here. It's more amplified now, but that seed has always been here.
Yeah. Again, the timelessness of this. I want to talk more about that specific scene though, because again, I think that's such a powerful moment in this movie. So as the group is traversing through the cubes and they're figuring out the math of all of this, they realize that there needs to be an edge. And one of the reasons that they're able to figure that out is because Worth says, I helped build the shell. I helped build the outside. There is an outside. There's an end. And so as they finally discover what they believe is the edge, the shell of this cube, they decide that they need to lower somebody out of it to see if there's any way out. And so they lower Holloway down by using all of their clothes tied together. I was a little surprised that they didn't get a little bit more naked there. I think if it was life or death
surprised
at this point,
or hoping.
Mostly hoping.
We all did. It's like
I would have taken all my clothes off. No sexual encounters. There is at one point. Oh my God, Quinton says that one line. Also, he's like when he's going crazy. At some point he's like, we fit together like the numbers, a man and a woman, 2 halves of the equation. Yeah, he's creepy.
Oh yeah,
but
he's the creep.
I hated that. I hated that so much. I think he's talking to Levin when he says that also.
Of course he is.
So Holloway gets lowered down and she's swinging back and forth to try to see if there's a way out, and a rumble occurs. And so because of that, they lose their clothesline rope. And Quinton barely snags on to her in time to be able to pull her up. And she's almost up, but then he looks her right in the eyes and drops her. So I would love to know, Jordan, what do you think is the reason that he did that?
I think for me, she seemed to be his polar opposite, where he's the authoritative,
she's threatening.
He's the power. He wants to control things, and she's empathy. She's heart. She's trying to stop him from being verbally abusive to Kazan, finding a humane solution to things. Even in that situation, he was like, well, I'm going to go out and I'll do it. Lower me down. And she goes, no, you're too heavy. If I'm going to die, it's going to be because I'm choosing to do something. I'll do it. And at first he feels like you're threatening my control. So by doing that, that's his power move to say, look, now nothing is going to stop me from controlling the other people who don't push back on me. Because she's the one pushing back. Levin doesn't push back on him. Worth is off on his own little thing. Kazan's just yelling and screaming, where's my baseball? Where's my baseball? She's the one that is going to, if anyone's going to push against his idea or his path to freedom, it's her. And it's just because she's constantly questioning it. So when he does that, everyone's set up to be a hero until that moment where they are either they die themselves or they sacrifice somebody else to move forward. And that was what he did. He said, look, I got you. And then he realized, you know what? If I pull her in, she's just going to butt heads with me. Yeah. So he lets her go. And that's when you lose that heart of the movie. And that's the rest of the de-evolution of their path. After her, there's no chance of going through it. Yeah. The only other person, Kazan, is the one who is empathetic because he's mentally challenged. He's autistic.
Simple.
He has no.
He's innocent.
Exactly, and he's the innocent. She's the heart. You lost one. The only one conceivably that should make it out would be him.
Yeah, Eric, what do you think? What do you think is the reason that he ends up deciding to drop her after looking her right in the eyes?
Well, I mean, it is what Jordan is saying, but there's also layers to that as well. It's the man telling the woman what to do, showing dominance over that, the extreme conservative guy over the extreme liberal person. This is that kind of power struggle, fuck you, like Jordan was saying. And also it was just what you said too, with like, if she's gone, there's no one standing in there, I can pick them off one by one. Again, this is like Big Brother. This is the game show, not or maybe the government conspiracy too, but it's like the game show where everybody has their little factions and they're working together until people get whittled down, and then they got to start voting other people out or turning on them to get the power play and all that stuff. So now this was the rush home. You have the last 10 minutes of the movie. It's like, we got to get to the ending, so we got to start killing everybody off or making something happen for this to resolve in a way. Yeah. And so I think it was a fuck you to her. It was a dominance thing over her, and it was everything that all the shit he's gotten in his life, or everything was portrayed onto him, and that he was a terrible person. He was projecting that out to, this is my way of winning.
Well, and he went through probably what I'm assuming is a contentious divorce. So he's already got that women are a problem for him in his life. Well, and you also got to think he's a cop. He's part of an establishment, and she's a conspiracy theorist who thinks the establishment is out to get them. Yeah. At some point, her conspiracy and her mental issue with the establishment is out to get you is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The establishment let you go. The cop let her fall.
I think that you're both spot on. I do think that there's also possibly a more simple explanation for it, but I think my explanation for it is almost too rational. I don't think that Quinton was rational at this point in the movie. No. My explanation for it would be that if she dies, it doesn't matter, right? So let's say that she drops, she falls down, and she dies. There's no negative consequence to that for Quinton, because he can say, oops, I accidentally dropped her. It was my hand slipped. She slipped. It just didn't happen. And in addition to that, she's not currently bringing anything to the table because she doesn't know the math. She's not solving which rooms they should be going into. So there's no negative consequence if she dies. However, if she does live, let's say that she falls. Let's say she drops and there is some bottom that she gets to. She can then potentially get out and come with a rescue mission for the rest of the people. Or she can yell up to them and tell them, this is what you need to do in order to get out. And so there is an advantage of, there's no disadvantage if she dies, and there is a potential advantage if she does live.
Oh, see, then that means you're assuming that Quinton has that capacity to think.
I don't think that he does.
In 4D chess here and have some kind of part where at one point he even goes like, every day I mop up after your bleeding heart. The only reason you exist is because I keep you. It's a control. For me, it's control. He controls the narrative. And when she becomes, like you said, not necessary, and she's just going to constantly put roadblocks up, get rid of her. Because now you've established that you got rid of your problem. And when you get pulled back in, you know they don't believe that she just slipped. So now you have power over the others because they now think you're capable of anything. So no one's going to oppose your power struggle. So you have made more humanity in Quinton than I think he has.
I don't think that my theory is actually correct. I just think it's an interesting additional
hey, there's
thought
a bottom.
Yeah. Hey guys, I found it. Yeah, great job. Everybody come on down.
It's pitch black. Everyone's looking down. It's like, well, it's 26 in every direction. So, that's probably a mile down or something. There's no way she can survive. It's just because there's no lighting. It's really maybe 25 feet. So maybe she sprained or she rolled her ankle, but she's really there and she's laying on a pile of possibly thousands of other bodies that have tried to get out of there, or she landed in the gearworks moving. Like, you never know.
Yeah.
That could be
we don't officially know that she's dead. That is for sure.
I mean, that is very ambiguous. Yes.
It is, and again, I love the ambiguity of this. I love a mystery. So
I'm looking for the best in people, Kaylee.
I'm sorry.
Quinton was a nice guy. I could fix him.
Oh no, he's my future ex-husband. I don't like where this is going at all. This is a nightmare for me. This scene though does lead to really the final act of the film because Worth begins to realize what a shithead Quinton is because of this. And Worth and Quinton get into a fight as well. They also realize at this point that they're going in circles because they rediscover the body of Rennes. And now they're like, oh my God, everything is a nightmare. Like there is no way out of this. There is no situation where we are going to be able to get it. Everybody breaks down at this point.
When they got into the room, they found there's Ren's body, right? And then the math doesn't math. I hate that term, but Levin then realizes, oh my God, if we had stayed in the original cube that we were in, this thing would have moved us to the end. We didn't need to go into all the other rooms. Like, oh, now that you see the body, now that you figured that out, it was a laughable moment in the sense of like, they're fucked. But also it was a laughable moment. It's like, oh, wow, they didn't know how to end this. So I think that they just threw that in there as, all right, that's an ending. Let's go with it.
Yeah,
See, I like the idea that no matter how much work you put into something, that sometimes the easiest solution is always the right one. And that's kind of how I feel Kazan is. Like, he's simplistic, he's innocent, he can figure it out. You should have trusted the simple version versus the power struggle Quinton version. Just like, if you had just took your time to figure things out and stayed still, you would have probably done better. Because you don't know how much time has passed. There's that part where they kind of montage it a little bit and you feel like there's a passage of time, but you really don't know how long they've been in there. And so like they're starting to go crazy. And it's wild.
So, Jordan, what I'm hearing here is that I could bribe you with gumdrops. That's all I need to do.
I'm a simple creature. I'm easy.
Excellent.
He is a sucker for sweets. But also the point Jordan's making is never try.
No, yeah. Don't try.
Give up. Just give up.
Just ride it out. It's a hell of a toboggan ride.
Now, did they? I don't remember. I mean, I did rewatch this about a week ago, but like, did they discover that the rooms were moving after he drops Holloway, or right after they figure out that they went around in circles with Rennes? Like, I can't remember if they knew the rooms were shifting before Rennes or after.
They knew that it was shifting before Rennes because once they found Rennes, she said, "Oh my God, had we just stayed in the original room, we could have just rode the thing right to the wall and left
shifting us to where we need to be."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think at that point I would go crazy because like they figure out, okay, the rooms have numbers and now the rooms also have colors. They're color coded. So then, like, Kazan's like, I don't want to go in the green room. Let's go back to the blue room. Like, there's other layers of clues that some people are just going to ignore, and someone who's simplistic goes, no, the blue rooms are the problem rooms. It's not just number based. The numbers help you to figure out where you are in the cube, the colors also give you a level of, well, this is probably a problem. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
great. There's more layers to things.
a lot of fights do happen in the red room. So a lot of the time when the characters are becoming more and more crotchety with each other, that is happening in a red room. And of course, I don't. Would you define any of the rooms as white? I guess some of them are
Neutral.
clear, neutral light.
Yeah.
What would you say those ones are all about?
I don't know, because I can't remember what color room like Ren got the acid in his face. I feel like that was a pretty
It was a
well-lit
blue room. It was a blue
Okay.
room.
Oh
Yeah,
no! Both of you watch out.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just that'll be the big finale. Is that we'll both like, explode and get
You're both in
beheaded.
booby traps right now.
Right.
And Kaylee will have her highest rated episode ever.
I can't wait.
Two
It's gonna be
deaths
great.
live.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like those are just like neutral rooms, kind of just like staging areas. Because, like you said, that the place is so big. There's got to be pretty benign rooms where they can have people survive. And if they're not grouping everybody together right away, you have to have enough rooms where someone doesn't just wake up and instantly get killed. You have to have them ready to move forward. And you got to figure there's a cube. So you've got 1, 2, maybe 4 different doors, 5 doors that you can go through. So, or at least there's at least 2 doors per room, from what I remember, at least. So you have to have options. So, I mean, I think those are maybe just like staging areas and stuff like that. I mean, not everybody stays still, so they've got to move. So they started somewhere. So those might be just the neutrality.
Neutral rooms.
Yeah.
I would argue that the colors of the rooms are meaningless, and that everything is meaningless in this whole movie. I think the whole thing is meaningless, and the whole thing is supposed to be nothing. But again, that's the nihilism of life, I suppose. That I don't want to assign any sort of anything to whatever exists in the universe. I don't know.
Don't go home with hope, and don't try. That's the whole what this
Stay
movie
put.
breaks down to. Nothing means anything.
Stay put.
Just sleep it
Never
off.
advance.
Right.
Never
Like
advance.
if you just listen to your parents when you got lost in the Target at 5 years old, just stay put. Someone will find you. If you're walking around, that's when you get lost. That's what is it? Is listen to your parents. It's all their parents put them.
Jordan has lost his children many times.
Intentionally. They keep finding. I don't stay put like I should. But
You're
yeah,
running
I
away
don't
from
know.
them
Yeah, there
actively.
is. Yeah, I was like, you stay here. I'm gonna go. The thing is that with the ending, you don't know if he escaped into something better or if it's just another version of what he was just in. Because it's just a white, small, light, door. You don't know if that's freedom. You don't know if he's saved. You have no idea. It's like Holloway and you saying that she survived. She could have survived that. You don't know if he survived going where he went.
It looked like the door that Al the hologram would go through in Quantum Leap. And when he'd have to leave Sam and go talk to Ziggy for a little bit, that's what happened. He walked right in.
Yeah, and then this is the time where you hope that Kazan, this is the last time he has to jump to another cube. I love Quantum Leap too. I'll do that one all day long.
It's a great show. But yeah, it could be anything. There could be like military people right out there with a gun trained on them or something. Like, oh, this one got out. You won the pool.
Could you imagine it's just like a Japanese game show, and then like he walks out onto a stage, and they're like, "Yeah, you did it," and he's like, "What the hell just happened?"
Or
here?
if it's just a cave in the desert, he walks out of the side of a mountain ridge, and he's now forced to just wander aimlessly in Death Valley.
I mean, it certainly is very heaven-like, and I would like to think. Of course, this is we don't know. That's the
Thinking
fun of all
positive
of
again
this.
of people.
He's childlike and he's underestimated, and I think that he survives, and he doesn't necessarily gain freedom. We don't necessarily know that he gains freedom, but I would like to think that he has escaped the system. I guess that suggests that innocence and simplicity, as opposed to authority, is the only way out of meaningless systems that we have created, or that humanity has created, or that aliens have created.
Well, it's the same thing where it's like you get on an airplane and you're scared that, okay, this may be the time the plane goes down, and then you see a family, and then like lady has a baby, and it's like, okay, there's got to be a messed up god out there that would crash this plane with an innocent baby on. So you're assigning worth to innocence, and you want that to be the best possible outcome. And unfortunately for me, it's like that's just not how that works. Like we don't know why they're put there, so we don't know why they decided to put someone so innocent and simple in there. Yeah. So it's like when he leaves, it's like, okay, we've assigned his worth, but maybe he was one of those Lenny type characters, and he's popping rabbit heads off, and maybe he's just an asshole. But we don't know that about him. We know
flowers for Algernon.
Exactly. We don't know. We're assigning that
worth. Gumdrops. No,
sure.
He's eating gumdrops, and he's very happy still.
Ronald Reagan ate Jelly Bellies, and
Jelly Bellies.
Jelly Bellies. Did escape this system, this perplexed government, walks out there, walks about 10 feet, somebody throws a straitjacket on him, puts him in a padded wagon, and he's right now in an asylum. It's like he went from one to the other.
Right. No, you made it out. We just can't let you out in society anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
you can escape hell, but you can't walk around the streets of Los Angeles. Sorry.
And that could be part of the way the ending plays out. Like, this is their purgatory. They've all they all woke up after going to bed. Maybe they all died, and then this is their way of, okay, you can escape this and ascend to heaven, whatever you want to assign your theological reasons for it.
Yeah.
Or they're stuck in this cube forever because it's so massive and so big. We don't know. Again, we don't have any idea what controls this entity.
Oh my God. What if it's like they die horribly in these different cubes, and then they wake up again? They wake up again in another cube, and it's just a perpetual loop.
Now, see, do they keep their memories of them being there, or do they start over? And it's like one of those like video games where when you die, you have the knowledge of what you did the last time, so you move forward, avoiding the same pitfalls that you did the last time. And maybe that's why Rennes was so good at navigating until he got acid.
That would be purgatory, because purgatory is supposed to be you
just rolling that boulder up
pay penance, cleanse yourself, whatever, in order to be worthy to go to heaven. If it's hell, you're on that loop that you never have the knowledge to escape this, get better, and make your life better for yourself and people that you may have wronged or whatever. So we don't know. I do like throwing the religious aspect into it, because sometimes a lot of movies, when they have really weak stories, if you throw a religious angle in there, and you're like, all right,
it was demons the whole time.
Always demons.
Everything
Tom Hanks running around the Louvre. Yeah.
Put him in a cube.
Quinton does end up killing Levin at the end of the movie. Almost all of the characters die by their own hands or in the hands of another character. So that's a very brutal kill. Also, Quinton stabs her with like a rebarb, which is, it's like Kazan is wailing in the background, and you have this like horrible kerfuffle. Right? Oh yeah, it's the locking.
Sharpened a button.
Right. Yeah, he ripped the handle off something, and that's what he used as like a dagger.
You're completely right. Yeah. And what we end up seeing is after this, Worth and Quinton get into yet another kerfuffle, and Quinton is winning this. However, they end up tricking Quinton into falling through one of the trap doors.
Come here right now!
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up dying with a cracked open skull on the ground, which is a very beautiful shot. Again, I feel like you could pause. This is a needle drop sort of movie where any point you could kind of pause it and then put that artwork on your wall.
And then he comes back later. They find out he's still alive. Stabs Levin, and then Worth holds on to him while he's halfway between the hatch, and then the cube moves. And
so Quinton stabs Worth in the stomach.
Yes.
Which is
Levin
terrifying.
Obviously was impaled with the
That's
door
like
handle.
that horror of being on an escalator or in an elevator. Like your foot's going to get caught into the thing, or the door is going to, like if it's halfway through here and they're trying to get you out to rescue, and all of a sudden the elevator drops. Yeah, that's a real fear. Even though it's like it's far-fetched, but it could happen.
So we've got 2 trap deaths. Almost everyone else, in fact, pretty much everyone else other than himself, are killed by Quinton. Yes. Quinton kills Holloway, stabs Levin, stabs Worth, and then he himself is being held by Worth, and then gets smashed through the cube walls.
Through the door. Yeah.
Jesus, that guy's a dick.
Well, I do think Worth's, we kind of glossed over this, but I want to go back to it for just a quick second. Worth's death is quite beautiful as well, because he does, in his final moments, after saying things like boundless human stupidity and saying, I have nothing to live for out there, he's very, he doesn't care. He ends up crawling over to Levin to die next to her. And that is, yeah, it's,
would you say he found Worth, Eric? Yeah, that's right.
Kick him out.
Never. I would never do that. I would
exactly
never
what he would
do
do.
that.
Yes, he found Werther's originals.
Yeah, that's how Kazan got out. Yeah, like, so he was definitely, like you said, the nihilist, doesn't think anything makes sense. Like, he doesn't care about anything. And then right at the end, he does find something to care about, even though it's at the end and there's really nothing else for him. He found, even in this terrible situation, something to care about.
That's
which was his
deathbed.
redeeming moment. Yeah. Because other than building the cube, what was his purpose in there? Like, he didn't.
Well, he
knew nothing about the
Atlantis.
inside. He was in Atlantis, and that's where I knew him from.
That's
but yeah, like, he just, that was his way of his redemption arc. Even though he died, he, maybe he gets to go off into his own little heaven, and Quinton just keeps getting crushed by walls.
There you go, thinking positive of people again.
God damn it, it's just gumdrops. Everybody's so mean to everybody.
Stop having happy endings in horror movies. They're not meant to be that way.
They can be. It's just rare. All right, Eric, what is your technical question?
I had brought this up to Jordan. Now, keep in mind, this is a mid-90s movie.
Yes.
So the CGI is not the best. It's pretty much in its infancy.
Yes.
In the 90s there. But when you see certain things happen, the way the rooms react, the one room where they realized it was sound and the spikes were coming through everywhere. But then when they'd move away, you would see, when you watch something either in graphic art or in a movie or something, and the black is not true black, it's kind of got that grayish black to it. So you would see the spikes pull away and you would see the gray matting from all that stuff there.
Almost like it was rotoscoped in, like you could see like where the tearing happens.
It reminded me of the graphics when they were going all out for when they made Stephen King's Lawnmower Man. And then it was just like, well, we have all this new stuff to play with. We got the toaster. We've got all this stuff here. That movie took like 2 years to render because it was slow as shit back then.
This universe is mine. I am God here.
But like, let's throw all these special effects into there, and you go, it's obvious computers. I mean, I know what they're going for, but it's not very realistic yet. They weren't there yet. But just seeing those little things didn't detract from the movie like it did in other movies from that period. But noticing those little things, I'm like, oh, that's right. The 90s, you're looking at that. But you still were able to look past that, where other movies, they would do things and you go, it's obvious the person's not in the foreground looking at the person in the background. You can just see that it's not scoped the right way for all of this stuff there. I didn't know if anybody else noticed that, if that was just me nitpicking, but I kind of laughed at some of those effects when you're like, oh, you can see the matting. It's it's technology.
It's because it's a product of its time that it got released on VHS. VHS didn't have high def. You had TVs that you could hide a lot of those things, and
so you could muddy it up a little bit.
You could, it could be a little more muddy. It could, based off of the frames per second, you can hide a lot of things. It's like when you do your, rewatching in HD, because they have to move things out. They've cleaned things up. You see things that weren't meant to be seen at the time. Yeah, so looking at it now, we're watching it on streaming. We got these big TVs. Everything is HD.
You're noticing.
You're going to notice those mistakes or those things that they thought they could hide because of the technology. So I think at the time, I don't think I've ever noticed it when I was watching it originally on VHS or even DVD.
I don't think I did.
You watch it now streaming, you're like, this doesn't look as good as I remember. And it's because what I remember was a square television at 480p on VHS with tracking and film grain, and things were hidden in those mistakes.
I will say, though, and I haven't seen the Asian remake of this that just came out a couple of years ago, but this is a movie that does, if they had had a different budget, if they had done things a little bit differently, I would have been interested to see all of those things as practical effects.
Well, do you think we would have got more kills from the traps? I think because of the technical limitations, maybe they're like, well, we blew our budget on the spike room. We have to just make Quinton kill everybody.
You could be very, very right about that.
Too. Yeah.
But Eric, I agree with you that it didn't seem bothersome to me. A lot of the time when we watch these old movies from the late 80s, from the early 90s, and we see this really, really icky
Jaws
CGI.
3D. It was a terrible movie to begin with. But if you look at it now, I mean, look, they've made Tron, the original Tron, up until a certain point. That looked terrible too. You looked back with a fondness from growing up with it in the 80s, but the graphics weren't the best for that. I mean, again, product of its time, but not the best, going forward. Then because it was shot in film, they could remove all the layers and put in all the good special effects and the lighting cues and all that stuff in there, and made the movie look like $1 million. And that movie's what, 30, 40 years old? 40 years old at this point.
Tron?
Yeah.
84, 82, 84.
Yeah. 40, yeah. I like that they can do that. They can go. They did it with Star Trek Next Generation, which television show, but it was all shot on film. So when they went to put out the Blu-ray set, they were able to remove the layers for the special effects and put in all the new way of doing it. And you're watching these younger actors, the old sets, everything that's practical, but the special effects are too good for that time period. But it looks amazing that they could do that there. This didn't bother me when watching those older movies, like you were saying. Jaws 3D is still fucking terrible. And Lawnmower Man is just comical at this point.
It's
because
so comical.
There's no horror. There's no sense of dread. There's no sense of, they were afraid of the internet. Like how everyone's freaking out about AI. Lawnmower Man was about being afraid of the internet for part of that movie, that this guy could get into your personal files, could get into there and do all of these things. I mean, you can still do that now, but back then it was new territory. But you're watching, he's trying to work combinations digitally and his arms are stretching out. And you're like, what was the
What's
concept
happening?
of this? Yeah.
It's out of its mind.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to look at it. And have either of you seen the Asian remake? I am curious about it.
I just watched it the other day.
I just watched it last night.
What are your give me your very most basic thoughts, because I am going to try to drag both of you back here to talk about Cube 2, Cube 3, and the Asian remake.
Hypercube.
So,
I feel like what they did with the Asian version is they gave us the updated special effects and took away a lot of the human elements of it.
They amped up the rooms and beta mailed all the characters, like really toned them down.
There was no Quinton for me in this.
There's no threat of the people
in
there, because with the original Cube, as we all just discussed, what you don't know was more terrifying than what you do know. But then the rooms that did have the stuff, that was an element that was in play, but also the human experience was at play, that everybody was going to turn on each other. In the Japanese version, I think it's just a generational thing, because they all seemed like K-pop people. Like they all came from a K-pop band in there, and like they all had no real sense. And I'm not saying like men, but there was no sense of threat of being a physically dominant human.
There's no alpha.
A mentally dominant human being that might outsmart them all and stuff. They all just seemed kind of clueless, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing for the Japanese, but for what it was, Kazan in this movie was, retarded, but a savant to it. They don't portray that for that character in this movie. He's more of a soft-spoken, autistic kind of character, and he just kind of doesn't know what's going on and just walks with everybody, and that's it. There's no sense of that kid possibly getting them killed, dragging them down, preventing them from moving forward. Nobody was a threat to really anybody. It was just we happened to be walking through. They just amped up the rooms. So if you watch it that way and go, you're not watching it for the same experience that you got from the original movie. But yeah, the rooms change colors while they're in there. Like the mood. Oh, that is it. The room would have its own mood. So depending what was going on in the room, if they were arguing, the colors changed. The threat changed.
It's actually kind of cool.
The room could have different ways of doing things to you depending on the color scheme and the mood of the people in the room, rather than, oh, that's the fire room, that's the spike room, that's the electricity room. It's like anything can go in some of these things. So
well, and that's they amped up the character of the cube, the room, and all that stuff without giving any more purpose to the side characters. Whereas the original, the threat was the people. They just happen to be in a really shitty situation.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They've completely reversed it.
The people really are not important in the Japanese movie. No. There's nobody to latch onto. There's nobody to root for. You're just like, all right, I'm watching essentially a high-tech potential snuff film. And
I like that also.
The graphics.
See, it's the Japanese version of a snuff film, so you're not like at the beginning of the original. You've got that the screen that comes down, it slices the guy up into cubes, and that's really interesting. In this version, they're like, well, let's just do one cube. And like this thing goes through the guy in the middle. And this is the first death, so I'm not ruining the movie. But like then you see like a big chunk of him fall out on the ground. And it just looks like a roast. Someone just threw a roast on the ground. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't feel like it was as cool. Like it just felt like they'd taken a lot of the heart out of
it's like steel
murdering
beams
people.
Got out of the wall.
It was weird.
And that was the shape of the cylinder that went through the guy. It was the same concept. Slow death. You don't know what would happen. The guy's kind of like, what just happened? And then eventually, so it's recreating the same scene in a different way. But past that point, then everything else starts going like, oh, none of these people matter. It's just look how cool the rooms are.
One of the things that I think is so unique about the original Cube is that we just talked for, I don't know, an hour and a half about this movie.
I'm sorry.
And we hardly talked about any of the things that happened. And that is how detailed the characters are. And that is what makes it so incredibly unique. It's the power, the control, the sacrifice, the survival, the design without meaning, the math, the chaos. It's all of these different things that are making us so excited to talk about it and so passionate talking about it. And we can all have our own little theories and stuff. And that's really hard to recreate. And that is why this is a hard movie, I think, to remake, is because it's hard to create that chemistry that was created within this original again.
Well, and you've got the attention spans of the average viewer nowadays, where it's like you have to kill somebody every couple minutes, otherwise they're going to lose focus. They're not going to care about that long, drawn out, tension building story. And storytelling, unfortunately, gets lost in that. And that's why I think this Japanese version went for, let's just kill a couple people and let's not focus on the societal breakdown of all these people actively working against each other while trying to work together and ultimately being their own downfall. Like he just, let's put them in a flamethrower room and that's it.
But despite the generational changes that they had to make, for releasing this movie, again, only 4 years ago, that movie came out. Did it do well in the box office? Because if they made those changes to fit the modern audience and it still didn't do well, then what was the point of making those changes?
I think that went I think that one of those, that was a like straight to Netflix type of movie. That never went to the theater.
Oh, okay.
The Japanese version, that was like 2001. Like I think that just got released on either like sci-fi or whatever streaming platform. Like it never went to a mainstream theater.
Frank Oz said when he was making Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which was a remake of a very shitty movie called Bedtime Stories starring Marlon Brando. And when he was making that movie, an interviewer asked him, why are you remaking a movie that did so horrible that nobody liked, that was awful, an awful movie? Bedtime Stories was horrible. Why would you ever remake this movie? And he said, why would I remake a good movie? And I think that that's kind of where we're at when we're talking about a remake of something that's already such a success. There's not a lot of reason to do it. And what Frank Oz did when he did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was he turned an incredible concept into a beautiful, hilarious, amazing movie that was a failure when it initially existed. The first version of that movie was trash. And I will point out the remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels starring whatever that one fat chick is and whatever that one skinny chick is, that's a garbage movie because it's a remake of a good movie. You don't need to remake a good movie. It's already
Eric and
a
I
success.
have had this conversation numerous times where it's like, why are we remaking things like you said? Why are you remaking good movies? Take a movie that wasn't commercially successful, that maybe the bones were there of a good story, but just was executed incorrectly.
Or one of those movies that you couldn't, because of the time you made it, couldn't be executed the right way because they didn't have the technology. They didn't have something that needed to be part of making that movie, whatever the process may be, that you can do now. Go back and get these movies that tanked in the theaters or that didn't do well on cable or something like that. And you go, the story's good, but the execution sucked because of the time, or you had the wrong casting, or bad director, whatever the reason. Take a shot on those. You don't need to go back and remake, like if God forbid, if they remade Tommy Boy. You can't remake Tommy Boy. It was fantastic. No. And you can't find anyone that'll play the Chris Farley role. There's no need to remake that. But for every Tommy Boy, there's probably some other shitty, 90s, 2000s comedies that were just kind of nothing. And you could remake them and with a new cast, new whatever, and potentially make money off of it.
Well, and the good example of putting out a franchise movie that's not a remake was the Naked Gun that just got released.
Yeah.
They were like, we are going to make the Naked Gun. This is Frank Drebin, but it's not. It's Frank Drebin Jr. So you've continued the story, but still made an original movie. It's called The Naked Gun. It fits within this universe. And that was really, really fun. They just put out a movie called The Roses, which is a remake of War of the Roses, which was a good movie in the 80s. I think that's already out of the theater, and it's been out 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, no one,
I will say,
why are you remaking these things?
I do want to clarify. There are a couple of remakes that I think are absolutely incredible, especially within the horror genre, actually. I think that there's some incredibly successful remakes. I think that the remake of Maniac is incredibly successful. I think that the remake of My Bloody Valentine is incredibly successful.
Sure.
And those are movies that I love the original and I love the remake. I'm not saying that remakes are entirely for naught. I'm just saying that if you're going to do it with a purpose. And I think that's similar to what you're saying when it comes to Naked Gun, and perhaps it just wasn't the time to remake Cube. So I will definitely look forward to watching the remake of it and giving my own opinions at some point.
What you guys just said, that might be the exception right now, because I'm thinking about it too. One of the rare horror movies that I like, that because I'm not a massive horror fan, but once in a while movies come around that I enjoy. One of them that I really enjoy was a remake, House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
It was an old Vincent Price movie, and
movie.
You watch that movie, it's a different feel watching the Vincent Price movie versus the one that they made. What was it, late 90s, early 2000s? That one,
90s.
I was happy they killed Chris Kattan off, and then the rest of the story could happen. But when when they're going from the party, they're going into the whole asylum thing on the hospital, whatever that thing is built under the house. You started seeing some techniques that weren't prominent in horror movies, like the jump scares, the things moving around where the head's spinning like that. Like, this was one of those early films in that genre where these techniques were being developed and used and what have you. And I like that stuff. And that movie is better than the Vincent Price movie. If you're just
you never speak of William Castle that way ever again. I will not stand for this on my channel. I will not stand for this. I will not stand for this. I think that that's an incredibly, incredibly good point. And there's definitely reasons to remake perfectly acceptable movies or movies, again, that we can kind of conceptualize in a different way because of whatever universe we're in or whatever technology we have, or which is very exciting. And I think that what Cube has done for us us, especially just during this little discussion, but overall us as humanity, is that it makes us think and it makes us question and it makes us have these discussions. And Jordan, I think you were saying that you, when you would find somebody who knew this movie, you were so excited to talk to them about it. That's because this movie leads to conversation, and that's what is so amazing about movies in general.
Just little things like you just said something that actually it made me have that feeling when you said William Castle, because he did House on Haunted Hill, the original, and he did 13 Ghosts, which also got remade around the same time, and nobody knows William Castle. So you're right. Like when you find somebody that knows something that you're excited about, like Cube, or like I said, I keep going back to Equilibrium. That was just one of those, I found it on VHS type of movies. I mean, Boondock Saints. Everyone loves Boondock Saints, and that was a word of mouth movie that failed completely in the theater when it got released, very limited. Everyone knew about it on DVD, and then that's when they made a terrible sequel. But you know what I mean? Like you had lightning in a bottle, and then you pushed it. Sometimes things just need to be don't their own, cube. And that's exactly this movie. Like,
I see what you did there. You said the name of the movie we just talked about.
That's when you roll credits.
Say the line.
Say the line, Bart.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to be able to find those hidden gems that don't get that wide release. And again, when it comes to remaking things, I think this was good. You don't need to remake it. It's why the second one doesn't live up to it. They expand the lore, and we can talk about that the next time. But yeah, I think this is such a perfectly like capsulated movie where that's it. I'm good. I could talk about it for hours because there's just too many layers of it.
We could probably go for another 6 hours right now, but I will not force
Eric
guys to do that. So instead, what I will ask is,
talk too much, so
I would love to hear your guys'. I would love to hear your guys' kind of final thoughts on this one, and then on my channel here, we rate movies out of 7 thumbs up. So, Eric, you want to start out with kind of final thoughts on Cube, and then give me your rating out of 7 thumbs up.
I still challenge the ending. I don't know if it was the right person who survived.
Yeah.
Whether they all should have, but you don't know his backstory as to maybe he wasn't mentally challenged before coming into the cube. Like maybe
it's a verbal Kint situation where the Kaiser Soze walks off and he's walking away.
Oh my God! Oh my God! If it had the Usual Suspects ending, he walks out into the desert and he just straightens up. He's got a bag of gumdrops sitting off.
Yeah, it's just
he knew he was.
Maybe he was controlling the whole thing.
Maybe he's the one that put them there. That's why he knew what rooms to be in.
He's the head.
He knew how.
He's the head of the Illuminati, some globalist company or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if it was the right person for the ending, but I don't know if any of them would have been the right person to survive. The thing overall I loved about Cube was the fact of having that card in your pocket for when you were having a conversation with movie buff people. And, I like movies, but not to the level that some other people that know, production dates and all this other stuff. And I go, all right, you lost me at that point. But when they're talking about horror movies, or they're looking for movies that nobody's really mentioning, like, what's your favorite movie? Back to the Future. And you see people's eyes roll or whatever. Like, look, I do love Back to the Future. But when you could say, what do you like for horror movies? Like 1 or 2 movies I have in my back pocket that I can throw out there and always gets an oh wow response and opens up a discussion. 1 is The Cube. 2 is Event Horizon, which to this day I still think anytime I rewatch that, for as dated as some of the stuff is in that movie, it doesn't matter. That doesn't affect the story or the fucking fear that you have watching that movie to this day. Especially if you're just sitting there in the dark watching this movie, we're going into Halloween season, so all the scary movies and stuff will be coming around. I know they made that video game franchise Dead Space based off of her Event Horizon, but you go and you bring these 2 movies up and people go, oh wow, nobody talks about that movie. They're expecting Freddy versus Jason. They're ready to, hear that and roll your eyes at it. But when you have those kind of movies, those little gems over time that can still hold up, if not for watching it, but also for having discussions with people, those are my favorite kind of movies, and that's why Cube has always been. Despite everything in the movie, it was just the fact that you could talk about that, and that's sort of an oh wow moment for other people who like horror, who like film, who like whatever, that you could throw something out there and it looks like I'm credible and I know what I'm talking about.
Your way of being intellectual in movies.
Yes,
just talking about Cube.
Faking it till I make it, or at least leave the restaurant. One of the two.
Well, you did a wonderful job. I will not ask you to use a button to carve through steel anytime because you've convinced me that you're an intellectual. All right, I would love to hear. Let me hear Jordan's final thoughts, and then we'll all give our rankings out of 7 thumbs up.
Okay.
I think what I like best about this movie is that it's evergreen. Like, despite the lack of technology to make like the special effects work and things like that, the story holds up no matter when you tell it. At the core of it, this is just about society, and society is just as fucked up now as it will be later and what it was before. Like, there's always going to be these same types of people causing these same types of problems. So for me, I can talk, like Eric said, you can talk about it now. We were having these same conversations back 30 years ago when the movie came out. We're going to have the same conversation 10 years from now when we talk about, all these people causing these issues and going through this. So that's what I love about this movie, is that it's evergreen. You no matter how bad the special effects look, the story holds up. And it's hard to tell a story that holds up because I love a lot of movies from the 80s growing up, and some of those movies just do not hold up. They hold a special place in my heart, but they don't hold up with the story. This story will hold up no matter when you tell it. And that's why I like this movie.
Jordan has a serious affinity for My Stepmother as an Alien.
Oh, Kim Basinger as an alien is fantastic.
Yes. And he's just waiting. He thought that one time was going to be a nude scene, and it wasn't. And he's been disappointed ever since.
Yeah. Everyone keeps saying, oh, that's Willow from Buffy. And I was like, no, that's not. That's the daughter from My Stepmother's an Alien. Yeah, no, I love that movie too. It's so stupid. Like, I'll watch.
Oh, she's like, I'm tired of both of these guys. Let's wrap this up.
Not accurate at all. I could keep going, but I think that we are not going to do that right now, even though I really kind of want to. All right, let me hear, Eric. Give me your rating out of 7 thumbs up on this one.
Can I ask why the 7?
It's a Simpsons reference. At one point, Homer is rating food, and he says, I'm going to give this my lowest score ever, 7 thumbs up.
I'm afraid this gets my lowest rating ever. 7 thumbs up.
And I love
Eric's never seen The Simpsons.
So here's my thing with movies, is that I love all movies. I love all movies.
Me too.
And
in my life, I'm confused.
I love all movies. So when I think about 7 thumbs up, I think about the worst it could possibly be is the 7 thumbs up. That's how much Homer loves food. This is how much I love movies.
You're 100% right. I am ashamed. I am saddened to call myself a diehard Simpsons fan that I did forget that particular scene. Yes. But I would say out of that, I would give it 5 out of 7.
Okay. What would you dock it for?
The button writing in the steel, it just shaved off a point. I will never forgive them for that. 2, I didn't think about it until we had this discussion, but there wasn't enough of action within the rooms of casualties. Like, I didn't realize until Jordan brought it up, or you brought it. I apologize, whoever did that. There was only actually 2 scenes in a room where a death had occurred, and the others were just visuals through the little crawl hole space, seeing and testing the rooms to see if it was safe to go in there. I would have liked to have seen more of those encounters, whether it was just expendable characters that they came across in their journey, and you just got to see, oh cool, that room was a giant skillet, they jumped on the floor and they did fried up like an egg, something like that. But I think that pretty much that's the reason for the 2-point deduction on it.
It's a very reasonable criticism. What about you, Jordan?
I was going to say, I hate to agree with Eric because I never do, but a 5, and it's for those same reasons. I feel like you focus so much on the people that the name is Cube, and you really didn't give the rooms enough time to shine. You could have amped it up a little bit, like you said, had a little bit more cannon fodder. The non-main characters, the ones that just don't really contribute. I need to see that kind of stuff. And that's just because I'm so desensitized, like we talked about. I love Terrifier. I love all those kinds of movies. I love a good kill count. And this is a more cerebral sci-fi horror, which is fine. But like, if I were to want a remake, I would like the story to remain the same. I would like the characters to feel the same, like what the Japanese version didn't do. But I also want those extra kills. I want you to ramp it up a little bit. Make me fear the cube itself, not just the people that are causing the problems. So that's kind of where I would be at too. And it's hard for me to give anything a 7. Like, I love movies. You'd have to be almost flawless to get that high of a rating. But for this to have that conversation constantly, a 5 is very acceptable to me.
Yeah. Kaylee, let me ask you then, out of 7 thumbs up, what would you rate this movie?
I would easily rate this 6 out of 7 thumbs up. And I would dock it for different reasons. I think you guys are both right. The button is very unbelievable. I also don't like the sucking on the button to make saliva. That just makes me uncomfortable. Everything about the button, I think the button is one of the, like, when people think of this movie, they're like, oh yeah, he's sucking on buttons over there. That's one of the things people think about. I don't like the button in the slightest. But the reason that I would really struggle to give this a perfect score, and I do give a lot of movies perfect scores because I love movies too much and I forgive them a lot. I would give this not a perfect score because I do think there are times when the acting is a little bit flat. A lot of the actors who are in this are not, they were not well known at all. A lot of them, it was their first role. So every so often you get these moments where even though their character is so believable and even though they've been so well written, I don't necessarily feel what they're feeling. I think that ends about halfway through the movie and I really get into their feelings at that point. But I definitely struggled with that a little bit in the beginning. And in addition,
you have to remember
that,
they're Canadian.
Yeah, I know. That's really the problem.
They're just constantly trying to apologize to each other as they go into the next room.
The reason why it was
so
dull and slow is because they're suppressing their accent.
That's actually a really good point. That is probably accurate.
Imagine that was true.
I also struggle with the math not mathing. So they had a math consultant on this film, and if you're going to have a math consultant, I understand that you need to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but whenever a movie focuses on math, I get super duper excited and I want the math to math. And because the math does not math in this movie, I got a little bit frustrated.
She kept throwing things at the screen during A Beautiful Mind. She goes, "This is bullshit.
It's bullshit." No,
I love it.
It was a good story.
She walks over with a red Sharpie. She's trying to correct it on the TV.
On the screen. There's just
it looks
marks
like A Beautiful
all over
Mind
my screen.
in her living room. Yeah.
No, I took a button off my shirt and I scratched up my
Scratched
TV
it right
good.
in.
It's really great.
We just bought that Vizio and she already ruined it.
It's my 15th. There's just a pile of Vizios in the corner of my room because I keep ruining them because of that.
They're not they're not whiteboards.
I am so thankful, Eric, that you suggested that we talk about this movie. I would love it if you would tell everybody just a little bit about what you do, where people can find you, because I want to make sure that everybody is going and checking out It's Erik Nagel.
Well, I got to say, I'm thankful that you accepted that suggestion, because when you were talking about horror movie, I was like, I'm not really the best guy. There's only a handful of horror movies that I know anything about. My co-host Jordan is the guy who knows all of that stuff. So I was like, how about this? And you went, oh my God, let's do it. I was like, again, that movie proved to be great for a discussion. If you want to join the show that Jordan and I do, we're on iHeartRadio. You can get us on the app, Apple, Spotify, any of those places you get podcasts. So that's for the audio version, and then the video version, which we live stream, is on YouTube, on Twitch, all under @It's Erik Nagel, and best of extra content materials all on our YouTube channel. So pretty much that's where I'm driving everybody. If you could go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. We're growing. It's been a slow build, but we're almost at 5,000 subscribers. And we just broke, this is weird. The numbers, again, math, not mathing. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers, but we just broke 1 million views on the channel, which is fantastic.
Congratulations.
So, awesome.
That's huge.
Yeah, I guess we're paying for everything really has been paying off to get some kind of attention. But yes, @It's Erik Nagel across the board, all the social medias for the show, the videos, all of that stuff. Thank you kindly.
And of course, that will all be linked down below. Jordan, did he miss anything? Would you like to plug anything here?
No, I think he's good. I know we've got other things in the works that we don't want to mention until it's ready to go. But I'm excited for the direction of the show's going. I joined Eric late, so I can't take any credit for how he's built this up. But
Nor would I give him any.
and yeah, nor do I. Yeah, I don't get paid for this. But so I would just appreciate everybody just going over, check us out. We're going to be doing a live show Thursday, and then we got more stuff in the works, and I'm excited just to how everything's kind of working out.
If we could find something that would work for you, we'd love to have you on. Come over to the iHeart show. Come join us. And
I'm in.
Yeah,
I need someone to talk movies with. I can't talk Cube anymore with Eric.
I know. I keep trying every show, and he just mutes me.
Bringing up Cube.
But no, she's a busy woman. She's got this fine show, obviously. Her channel, Once Over with Kaylee. So if you're not watching this on this channel, somebody's pirating it or Clipper got it. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. But you're also doing the very educational and funny Lucy Does Dabbleverse. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the legal show.
Yeah, that's my play on Debbie Does Dallas. I don't think anybody gets
I
that,
didn't know how it'd feel. A whole long form discussion about the ongoing lawsuit. And you and Luigi do a fantastic job. And then you just had Dr. Steve on, who is a brilliant psychopath in his own right. Very well beloved, but he's batshit crazy. And the fact that he's involved with Tukey, he's doing the legal things here, he's doing his own thing. Dr. Steve is living his best life, and I'm glad you had him on there. That was very entertaining to watch and enjoy. But whenever you have a free moment, we'll find something. Have you come on the iHeart show? We'd love to have you.
The last month of my life has been the weirdest month of my life, and it's wonderful, and I feel so fortunate to be a little part of it. And I feel so thankful that all of my friends are so talented that they've created this universe. It's just the most beautiful thing in the world. So anyways, let me say thank you again to you guys so much for coming and talking with me all about this. And again, I'm going to try to snag you back here so that we can talk more about the rest of the movies in the series.
Please do,
so,
anytime.
I would love that. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And thank you guys. And I will see y'all soon. Bye.